and I wanted to talk about School Spirits. This is a young adult Paramount Plus show. I talked about the first couple episodes. I thought it was strange that they dropped 3 episodes to start things off. There was really no need to. They cover a lot of ground, though. I will be honest. There's a lot happening in this show. It's very dense and almost to a fault. There's a fine line between being dense and convoluted, and the show doesn't always do a great job of that. So, um, the premise of the show is that a character named Maddie, played by Tori from Cobra Kai, Peyton List, she was killed on school grounds in this high school, and her spirit is trapped there. And there's other ghosts that were also killed on school grounds. They're trapped there as well. It's like a proverbial like purgatory, right? And she's witnessing everyone's reactions. Her body still hasn't been found, by the way. There's like a spirit afterlife support group, and every episode at this point has kind of moved the story along. Like, who are the different suspects? Like, it's a little bit like Law and Order. Like, we're going to go through suspect number one. Oh, they're not it. Okay, now suspect number two. So we've had the boyfriend who had her phone. Turns out he was cheating. We've had the weird teacher or the teacher that was behaving weirdly, who had helped her. So she would kind of dismiss that he could be guilty. Turns out he was embezzling money. There were some ties to the cheerleader girl and that kind of stuff, and kind of like where that story is going. So that's kind of where we are when we pick up these last couple episodes here. We're on episode 4 and 5. I'll go quickly through some of the elements because this is not for everybody. It's a young adult show, right? So it's not. First off, I'll say they shoot themselves in the foot, but like, I don't know why we have to have a bunch of F bombs. We've had at least 3 or 4, and there's no reason to it because you could at least keep a PG-13 process going so you could have those people knowing that they can turn this show on for their kids or their family or people who don't want to get into that kind of cursing. It just seems silly to me. There's no other elements to the show that are really inappropriate or too graphic other than this frivolous cursing. I don't understand why we had to have it. It did not need to happen. It was so silly. So, episode 4 and 5 almost feel like by the time we're done with this season, I'm going to look back and point to how much of filler there are in them, where there's not necessarily a ton of character growth that happens. There's also still a lot of character introduction that's happening. So, for instance, they have this plan with so there are a couple friends, right? So Maddie is the girl we're talking about, main character. She has 2 human friends, right? Simon and Nicole were her close friends, uber nerds, going to go to horror con together, those kinds of things. Then she had the boyfriend Xavier, who was kind of like cheating with the cheerleader Claire, and that's the one that was having some sort of financial fiasco with his teacher. And then on the ghost side, you have several ghosts, right? And here we have lots of little moments where every character kind of has to move forward a little bit, but not really that interesting. Like, I don't know that I'm getting anything that's that interesting. So Nicole is in denial, and she's going to, quote, get tickets and go to HorrorCon because if she's still out there, she'll show up. I'm like, yeah, okay. The denial is so on her sleeve. You're just waiting for her to have to face reality, right? One of the ghosts is named Charlie. He's a gay kid. I think he's supposed to be from the '90s, right? Dave Matthews Band is his music from his flashback because, you know, it's like the cliche of like the Boy Scouts and the tents and share the tents with the boy guy. And they play a Dave at that was it called Crash Into Me. It's like they play those lines like coming to you, it's a boy's dream. Like they're playing the lyrics from the song. And I'm like, okay. I got it. And his biggest part of all the pain of his thing and all the regret is that the boyfriend, the love interest, outed him to his parents, and he snapped and said, I never loved you, didn't care about you, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he dies the next day. He died in a really funny way, by the way. He actually had French fries at school, and they were, for some reason, they were cooked in peanut oil. So the peanut allergy killed him, which, by the way, really wasn't a thing that we knew much about back then. So yeah, him dying that way actually probably could have happened. So I hate to be sadistic and kind of laugh at it, but it's like, oh yeah, that probably could have happened. We kind of make fun of the peanut allergy thing now because the people act like hysterics about peanut allergies. Like you're not even allowed to be in the room with a peanut. Anyway, there is an effort here for reconciliation, and Maddie mentors him over the course of these 2 episodes, and really it takes both episodes, 4 and 5, where you have him writing a letter to this teacher now because the former love interest is now a teacher at the school. So Charlie is cursed with having to see this person every day, all the time. So he's going to write a reconciliation apology, whatever he wants to do. So that's what's happening there. Then there's another ghost. Another ghost is named Rhonda. Now, Rhonda is kind of like the weird girl. She's never really quite fit into all of the therapy stuff, whatever. Her and Maddie are back and forth about, being stuck there and trapped there forever and all this kind of stuff. But she starts to kind of come around at least a little bit, right? She ultimately shows up for like the movie night, right? Because the movie nights is done by the jock. The jock died in the 80s. His name is Wally, and he's a very lovable character. Rudy is his favorite movie. He's subjecting them to all these sports movies, and they basically make them watch Ghost, and he's all emotional about, oh, it's better than Rudy, right? And Rhonda's finally coming around that she wants to figure out how to move on too, right? But then you have like the 70s goat, which is like the hippies girl. She's weird and chaotic, but she's so OCD about like modern technology. She knows everybody's cell phone passcodes and things like that. So that's a nugget that they needed to get the teacher's phone unlocked for that whole subplot and that kind of thing. But it really is episode 5 where you start to move at least towards some interesting concepts, right? Wally is this football player that died during the homecoming game during a tackle and snapped his neck. But what we learned, because they're going to relive this moment every year, they go to homecoming. His family shows up every year. Then gradually, I guess only the mom comes. But his bonding with Maddie, trying to reach out and support her, made him come to the realization that she forced him or guilted him into playing football because he was good at that. That would be his ticket to scholarship, ticket to college, right? So there's a flashback that is him being pulled from the game, nursing an injury or minor injury, and she goes down like she's kind of embarrassing him a little bit. You got to get in the game, and of course he passes away. And Maddie is the one who kind of helps coach him through. You can just move on and do your own thing. You don't have to be tied and anchored to this tragic death and this moment and the mourning and the grief that your mom still has and the guilt that she wanted you to do something that you didn't necessarily want to do. You can do what you want to do now. That ties really well into Maddie's journey because she's seen her mother completely changed by Maddie's death, or at least disappearance, because they haven't found a body. And she starts to have the crisis of faith of, am I better off dead? Because mom is no longer a drunk and alcoholic. She's finding purpose. She's doing different things. Look at how kind and gentle she is. All these different things that are happening. She's having a crisis of faith as well. So there are some interesting dynamics that are there. I don't know that they have enough good dialogue to communicate that to the audience well. Like I can see it in there with their intentions. And I think more times than not, Hollywood treats the audience like they're dumb. But here I feel like they would need a little more gravity to some of the dialogue, a little more gravity to some of the speeches to be a little more on point to drive things home, especially if your target audience is going to be a younger crowd. Um, and then you have, again, there's the cat and mouse type stuff that they're moving around, trying to figure out what actually happened to Maddie, find new set of clues, a video, who took these videos, these kinds of things. They find they find access to basically like the bunker, right? The safe area underneath the school. It dates back, Cold War kind of stuff, right? Uh, so yeah, the fallout shelter takes us down where kind of like the episode comes to an end, right? Because it's like, well, first off, they find out if Simon and Maddie, because Simon is her friend that can see and talk to her, because they figured out that if someone died in that room, there's somehow a link, a spiritual connection, and for some reason, Simon and Maddie can't communicate. So when they find the fallout shelter and they're able to communicate, that means someone actually died in there. So that's quote another clue. And there's like other little pieces. Now, again, show is not for everybody. It's obviously geared towards young adult type stuff, those types of shows. I know I'm being prudish with my thing about the language. It's just little things about, they can't get out of their own way because they have some really good performances out of the cast. The cast really is, I think, what drives the show, because it's pretty much just generic high school sort of drama, right? it's not really anything like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to see this, or can you believe this happened? It's just not going to be that kind of show, right? It's going to be a slower burn. It's like a mystery thing with the drama surrounding stuff like that. But uh, Milo Manheim is the guy that plays Wally. He really shines in this last episode. You really like Wally. You fall in love with Wally, and her agreeing to go to the homecoming dance with him. It kind of makes you feel good, and you see him so excited, like he got a date. You know what I mean? And I think Simon is still fantastic. Christian Flores plays Simon. Simon's doing a great job. I don't know that there's like opportunities for some of them to really do a lot as far as acting chops, but it's not bad. Everything else is very serviceable. It's a very fine show. It is what it is, and it's good for what it is. I'm not going to try to overly praise the show, but I'm not going to try to ignore and dog a show that's actually pretty decent. So that's my take on it. I don't know if any of you guys are watching it or know about it. That's my thoughts on it. You guys can tell me what you guys think. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening, watching. I'm Pops.